Okay, so for my final project implementation, my final project is on cross-site scripting, which, as we know, is basically just a type of injection attack where malicious scripts get injected into trusted websites. So for my final project implementation, I'm just going to be doing two different types of approaches to cross-site scripting attacks, one being reflected and one being stored. And then through both of these approaches, I'm simply just going to show how easy it is to gain cookie information of the target, which then the attacker has complete access to after they've acquired it. So um, for this implementation, I had to set up my own little web server here, Apache, and database server here using XAMPP, just so everything would get processed. And then I also had to find a vulnerable web application that I could do the actual uh, exploitation on. And so I'm using DAM vulnerable web application, just a standard, vulnerable web application. And so if we go ahead and go in here to do our reflected cross-site scripting, we want to check first to see if this is a unvalidated input. Um, so first we're going to find the parameter that could be potentially valid, which we just found here. So then we're going to insert a little script to see, if it's actually a vulnerable input. So we can run the script. We see that our alert gets executed. We just run in a simple alert just to see if it's actually, uh, not validating what's in there. And so we see that it is, and that script runs immediately because it is a reflected attack. And so that means, the data is sent to the or sent to the server and then back immediately. And so the script is then ran immediately. And since it is a search bar, that makes or a submit bar, that makes sense. And so now we're just going to do a little example of how easy it is to actually gain access to um, cookie data. So we're simply just going to do another alert, but this time we're going to put document.cookie in there. When we hit enter, we see that we now have the session ID displayed to us, which is very important. And so now I'll go ahead and well, I guess I should backtrack a little bit. This would be used if, you know, if someone wanted to exploit a target this way, they could just post that link around different places, and users would eventually click on it, and then upon clicking on that link, that malicious script would get ran, and then um, that attacker could then have access to those session IDs of those users. Um, Here, I need to go ahead and reset the database because it's from the example I was doing. But so now for stored cross-site scripting, this is pretty much the same as reflected, but in stored, instead of it being sent back immediately, it's stored on some server until another user accesses it, and then that script is ran. Basically when that page is being interpreted. So again, we're going to check to see if this input is vulnerable. We're just going to put another little alert in there saying executed. We're going to sign the guest book, and we're going to see, sweet, okay, it's executed. So now we can go in, just name it test again, and we can actually then get the cookies of a user the same way as before, just document.cookie. We're going to just display it in an alert. We're going to sign the guest book. We're going to see executed, and then we're also going to see here now we have the session ID again. And so, and we saw from that executed ran as well. So in stored cross-site scripting, I could even store multiple scripts in here, and so then anytime we see that the page is refreshed, those are going to get ran, or if anybody signs then the guest book again, those are going to get ran. And so I could even have multiple scripts running on here, grabbing the cookies and then doing something else, yada yada yada. And so stored cross-site scripting is pretty diverse in what you can do. But as a deeper approach to this, then we can see how easy it is to actually access cookies and the session IDs. And so then a skilled hacker could then go in and have that sent to a file, or store all those cookie variables, those session IDs, and then he would be able to exploit the system if an admin logged on and he was able to grab the cookies of that admin user. He could then pose as that admin, access the site as that admin, and have all those capabilities at his array, since he now has those cookie variables that the admin has. And so we can see how that would pose a threat to the actual site. And so that's why just validating inputs, doing some input sanitation, having output filtering, even having up firewalls, everything of that nature, we can see how crucial that is to actual web developers. Because otherwise, if they just leave their input forms open, they're obviously vulnerable, and then attackers can come in and exploit that and gain a lot of access to everything on their site. And so yeah, as we can see, cross-site scripting is a big deal. It's very easy to gain access to cookies. We literally just did it in like 5 minutes. And all right, thank you.